morning, everybody. Welcome to Chalet Garden Coach. And today I'm going to talk about roses. We got some roses in today, and we also have 3 trucks being unloaded as I speak. So we're getting ready for this weekend. It's going to be a beautiful weekend, and also for Mother's Day, and also the frost-free date, which is the date of the 15th of May, which is the date that's safe to plant all the warm season annuals, or it's the average date of the last frost, I guess I should say. Okay, and we've got one participant. I am loving this rain. The rain had passed us. The past 3 major rain events that they were, warning us about or promising us went way south of us. So it's just so nice to get this wonderful soaking rain right now. Let me see how we're doing. We still just have 1 person. I'm hoping everything's okay. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Garden Coach. We'll get started in 2 minutes. Okay. Okay, welcome. It is 1 minute till the start. Oh, good. Oh, we have 2 participants. Very good. Welcome. I think everyone's probably sleeping in because of the rain this morning. So 1 more minute and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm Jennifer Brennan. I'm the Horticulture Information Specialist here at Chalet. And as of last Saturday, I have been at Chalet for 30 years. Kind of scary. I like to tell people I started when I was 8 years old. Sometimes that works if I've done my hair color. So here we go. All right. Welcome. I'm Jennifer Brennan. I'm the garden coach. I'm the horticulture information specialist here at Chalet. And you usually find me at the diagnostic desk, inside at the plant clinic, or outside in our plant information center, which used to be the old nursery office, and now it's where people come to the information windows to get people to help them out in the sales yard or to answer all the questions. I still have access to my microscope, which is fun, and I've been using it a lot. It's always so much fun to have a microscope. Okay, it is now 10 o'clock, and we've got 4 participants. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I have a lot to cover today. First of all, let's all do a round of applause for Mother Nature having the rain come on our gardens this time, rather than going way south of us, in the southern suburbs and all through Indiana. So this is one of the best things that could ever happen to our gardens, is to get this wonderful soaking rain. It's just this nice soft rain that's just soaking right into the ground. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, you've got the outline. I decided to put all the information on the outline. So it's 4 pages. That was sent to you in an email from Carly Thalman. And then, so you had 2 separate emails, one with the outline, the link to the outline, and the other with the link that you used to get onto the into the Zoom today. And I'm going to go ahead and start and share the screen. I've got some really great photos for you today, so I think you're going to love it. And the focus today is, we just got the roses in. Let me do this. There we go. Oh, that's the wrong one. This is the one I want. Okay, and we're going to share this screen. Got to get it on the PowerPoint. Here we go. She says, there it goes. All right. So these are the topics today. Mainly the fact that the nursery is open and we're getting more and more product every day. I don't exaggerate when I say that we get up to 6 trucks a day. There were 3 trucks waiting in the parking lot, and one was being unloaded. So we are going to be just smack dab full to our ears out in the nursery for this weekend. And this weekend is supposed to be lovely. It's supposed to be in the 70s again. So Mother Nature is being kind of nice to us. I'm going to knock on wood and just say thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, I'm going to talk about roses because the roses are in. We just got the roses in, and I'm going to talk about how to plant them and how to care for them. And I'm going to cover both. If you have roses in your garden, what you should be doing for them. And then if you want to add some roses, I'm going to show you what we have in, and then I'm going to show you the list of the hybrid teas and floribundas and grandifloras that we're going to be getting into stock. I see that there's a question already. I want to encourage you to add your questions to the Q&A rather than the comment. The comment area. It's easier for me to answer them. And then what I do is I answer them. I'm going to check this one since it popped in quick, because it might be something that I need to answer right up front. This is Stacy. I never received the handout. Is there any way I can get a copy? You should have a separate email that came to you, Stacy. And so check that and open that up. If you don't get it, then what I'll do is I'll forward it to you. But do me a favor, okay, all of you that don't have handouts, send me. And you don't, and actually, when I do a lecture, I usually don't like to have people have the handouts because it distracts them and you get it afterwards. So this is kind of like my teacher way. But send me an email, Jennifer B, JENNIFERB, like boy, at shalleynursery.com. And right after we're finished, I'll send the handout to you. I'll send the topic list to you. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off, and then I'll do all the questions at the end, and I'll answer all your questions at the end. Now, I'm also going to touch on spring lawn care, once again, because we're right in smack dab middle of it, and emphasize that in the next 2 weeks, it's going to be the time to treat to prevent any of those lawn diseases that show up in July and August. Then public enemy number 1 is still the rabbits. And you need to treat with a repellent now to get the adults to go someplace else so they don't bring the babies back. Because if you get babies in your garden, they're terrible. Mother Nature has given them a protective where they don't have a sense of smell or taste until they become adolescents. And they'll eat through most of the repellents except for one. So is that a tease to make you stay tuned? It is, it is. Okay, then we still are dealing with the alien insects that have moved into the area. And those include Japanese beetles, the grubs they produce in the lawn, the boxwood leaf miners, and then the viburnum leaf beetle. So I'll talk about how to protect your plants from those. Mulches. This is the time to do mulching to prevent weeds from germinating, and also to keep your soil temperatures and your soil moisture more consistent. I didn't think I'd have to be talking about using a mulch to save soil moisture this early in the season, but technically until today, we were back in an official drought. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Okay, fungal diseases on all of the landscape plants, whether it's roses, lilacs, Monarda, now is the time to treat for those, and I'll show you that. Weed control, you still have one more week to treat that horrible weed, the Ficaria nevus, and I'll show you those details too. And then my favorite for weed prevention, after I've cleaned my beds out, my planting beds out of all the existing weeds, I always treat it with preen or corn gluten meal. I do it every 3 months, or corn gluten meal once a month, and I'll talk about that. And that prevents any new seeds from germinating. Man, that can reduce all the labor in your garden by 50%. Okay, so let's move on here. she says. All right, this is the welcome sign at Chalet. I love showing this to show we're open for business, and you just come in over that bridge and stand to the pergola if you want to stay dry. Beautiful. Our signature container people have just been making phenomenal arrangements in the containers. The ones you're looking at right here, these are drop-in containers in those great big gorgeous urns. So it makes it really easy to keep your urns looking beautiful all season long. Here, the wonderful spring planting. These are the early spirea, the pieris, the forsythia, you know, they're still in bloom. That's been one of the nice things about having these cooler temperatures. It's keeping all these beautiful spring flowering things in bloom much longer. I kind of like it like this. Some people don't. It was way too hot 2 days ago. You know, I mean, it was way too hot, way too early. Okay, and then more views. We have beautiful little vignettes all over our outdoor nursery, and so you can bring a cup of coffee in. My favorite's Dunkin' Donuts, and just sit down at one of these tables and enjoy the views and enjoy looking at all the gorgeous plants. And you know, we're all getting vaccinated, so things are looking up. Things are looking up. We do still have a tent set up. So to put the real tender plants in case we get a cold, you know, a cold snap, you know, the cold snap, and it can go back and forth. Beautiful hanging baskets. And this is going to be the weekend to buy hanging baskets for those Mother's Day gifts. And I was told by the head of our sales team that she requested double the number of hanging baskets to come in this weekend and for next week. So we've requested 1,000 different hanging baskets to come in. So come and get that hanging basket for your mom for Mother's Day. And our signature pots again, up close with the signature pots, smaller dinner table size. And then I just love the combinations, just fantastic. And these are wonderful mixed with snapdragons, the osteospermum, and the sweet alyssum. They'll be beautiful until the middle of June when it gets too warm, and then you switch out for the summer blooming things. And tons of pansies, tables of pansies. And then these are all of our annual tables, and most of them are the cool season annuals still. This weekend we're going to have more of the warm season annuals. Like I haven't seen geraniums yet, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have geraniums on some of these trucks that are coming in today and tomorrow. We'll have begonias, coleus, you know, impatiens. They just put the shade cloth up over our shade area, which if you look across these benches and then past where that tent is, that whole area next to where the greenhouses are, that's the shade area. So the shade cloth has been put up. That's a good sign. That's a real good sign that we're going to get those shade tolerant. This is the table that has the plants for containers. That's Creeping Jenny or Lysimachia. That's the golden form. We also have Dusty Miller out there right now, and you know, it changes every day. Beautiful. Our nursery is packed full with gorgeous flowering, early shrubs, and then shrubs that will flower later. We're getting more and more hydrangeas. This is the hydrangea bed. It's filling up like crazy. Spireas that, you know, showing off. This is one of the white flowering Chenomalies, or the fire in the bush is the common name of that. Beautiful crab apples looking out over the benches with the annuals. That was we sold that one. I should take this slide up. This is a cultivar of Cornelian cherry dogwood. Beautiful, early spring bloomer. They also call it, the Latin name is Cornus mas. Cornus mas. I love the column fruit trees. You can grow them in containers and leave the containers outside, up against the outside of a building, and they come every year, and the fruit is right on the trunk. And so you don't have to have a big area to have a wonderful fruit, garden, fruit trees. Our dwarf conifers, we're getting more and more of those. That's our evergreen area where you can see the boxwood, all the arborvitae, the junipers and the yews, and just looking across, boy, it's so nice to have our stock back up. These are the early spring annuals, and lettuces, kales, cabbages. Those are the ones that can go on the ground. They've been able to be planted for the last 2 weeks. So it's really neat. Fruit trees, people are loving the fruit trees. And then these are the dwarf berry bushes. And you can see we had dwarf blackberries, dwarf blueberries, and dwarf raspberries. And the shrubs are dwarf, but the fruit is standard size. It is the neatest. The company is called Bush and Berry. And then our staff is working nonstop to do displays. Wonderful new racks for all of our 4-inch annuals, makes the shopping so easy, and you can find the colors and the sizes just that you need. And again, pansies. This, tis the season for pansies. And then this is looking back from the nursery towards our back road and our back pergola. And you can see we have the pansies, we have the cheater bulbs, and then all the annual tables are setting up. People are buying them like crazy. So as quick as they're buying them, we're filling them back up. So you need to come and stop by on a regular basis. Again, look at just all the color. It's just such a great spring. These are the perennials. These are the perennials that we have. And boy, over the weekend, I was off on Sunday and Monday. I came back, and all the perennial tables are filled all the way. All the sun ones are all the way back, and all the shade ones are all the way back. So we're open for business. Cashiers outside, depending on the weather. And then our neat displays, the pallets, the elevated pallets in our main display area at the entrance of the nursery. And they, John, our merchandising, and visual manager, has loaded these up with even more than when I took the photo. Now we're moving into the next topic, and this is kind of what a great introductory slide to talk about roses. And whether you have a formal rose garden complete with a statue with a fountain in it, or you just have your favorite knockout roses planted, on the edge of your garden, roses are an integral part of our gardens, absolutely integral. And the different categories of roses, the hybrid teas, the flowers are large. They have that classic tea bud, tea rose bud, nice and pointed. There's usually only one flower per stem, and it's the traditional cutting rose. Then you have, and hybrid teas are usually 4 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet tall in the garden. Grandifloras, they're medium large flowers. They're usually in clusters on a multi-branch stem. And the plants are usually taller than hybrid teas. They're usually 4 to 5 feet tall. And they're really excellent for background of a border, or if you're doing a whole rose bed. The grandifloras are usually ones on the back row in a rose garden. Floribundas, boy, you just can't beat a floribunda. The flowers are medium size. They're born in clusters on a single stem, and the shrubs are low to medium height. They're good for mass color. And then climbers, they have medium to large flowers. It depends on the cultivar. Sometimes there's single flowers, sometimes there's clusters, and the plants have long canes, or we also call it, the canes is another term for stems. They have long stems that can be trained vertically, up a trellis, or horizontally along a fence. And I'll show you some really nice pictures of that. David Austin roses. There's a hybridizer based in England that decided to hybridize and make smaller versions of the classic English shrub roses. The English shrub roses can be 10 feet tall, and they were perfect for the wonderful estates like Downton Abbey. But when we have smaller gardens, we just can't deal with those large English shrub roses. So he has hybridized. So most of the flowers he wanted to have fragrant flowers again. So most of David Austin roses are highly fragrant, and the classic English shrub roses, all the roses had much higher petal counts in the flowers. So that's where the centifolium means 100 petals. So they're really full flowers. Now, rugosa rugosas are native to here in the United States, and they're a group of shrub roses that are, beautifully disease resistant. If you have a disease resistant rose and it's promoted as being disease resistant, it usually has rugosa in its heritage, back in its heritage. Now, the rugosas have different foliage. I'm going to show you a close-up of their foliage. And then they also have very large fruit, or they're called hips. And so I'll show you my favorite photo of that. And then shrub roses, it's a group of roses that, that not just the classic, English shrub roses, but any rose that has multi-flowers on it. And it's like any roses that don't fit in these other categories kind of lump into the shrub roses. So I'll explain some of those. The classic shrub rose that we all love so much are the knockout roses that were developed by William Radler. He was up on staff at the Berner Botanic Garden up in Milwaukee, and he discovered the first knockout, and then has hybridized them, and he has his company has hybridized knockout roses, and there's all kinds of colors, single flowered ones, double flowered ones, and he even came out with a climber that is gorgeous. I'll show you a photo of that, and we have that in stock. Now, Queen Elizabeth is the classic. It's considered the one and only, and the very first grandiflora. And you can see those beautiful pink, large flowers. They're usually 3 at the end of each stem. And this is the classic. And then there are rose experts out there that kind of feel like this is the best grandiflora. We have this one coming in. It's not here yet, but it's on our list. It's on our list. Now, when you're talking about roses, site selection and preparation is really important, because this is a plant that will stay in the same location for many years. So you want a site that has ample air circulation. You don't want to ever put a rose in the corner of a lot where you have a fence on one side, a building on the other, where the humidity and condensation can collect on the leaves. That's a recipe for all kinds of fungal diseases. And that's the biggest problem that roses have, are the fungal diseases like black spot, powdery mildew, downy mildew sometimes, but mostly it's powdery mildew and then the black spot. And I'm going to show you some slides about that. You also need good soil drainage. And boy, when I say that out loud, that kind of goes completely opposite of what our heavy clay soils provide. So knowing that, you need to modify the clay soils if you have really heavy clay soil. And the way to know if you have clay soil is when you dig up, some of your soil, take a handful, squeeze it together, and then when you open your hand out, if that clump still can show indentations where your fingers were, that's a sign that you have heavy clay. And so then let's move on to the sun. To have the best roses, you need to have a sunny location where the sun can shine on the leaves for at least 6 hours a day. Okay, now there are exceptions to that rule. I'm going to talk about that. Well, I'll just talk about it now. If you have a rose that has bright colors like reds, oranges, purple, they need bright sun. They need 6 hours in order to support the production of those flowers. Now, if you have a rose with a lot of petals, you also the plant also needs that sun and all the energy from the sun to produce all those petals. Now, if you have less than 6 hours a day, or if you have filtered sun, so like you get sun in the morning from the east, and then it comes up over the trees where you have filtered light. You have a high canopy tree like a honey locust, and the light filters through, and then after it goes on the other side of the tree in the afternoon, you have direct sunlight again. You can get by with single petaled flowers with as low as 4 hours of sun. So you want to go with lighter colors, white, pink, or yellow, and fewer petals on the flowers. You can get by with lower light. It's always worth trying. It's always worth trying. So now for the average garden soil, okay, you want to dig the soil to a depth of 18 inches. And you want to mix in organic matter such as dehydrated manure, chalet compost, or chalet leaf mulch. One of my favorite things also, and I'm going to show you a slide of that in a few minutes, is called, and we haven't had it in stock just yet. We're still waiting for it. It's a Spoma company, and it's called Clay Soil Perfector. And it's a calcined clay product. Pellets are black. They look like little lava rocks, and they're 3/8 of an inch in diameter. You mix that in with the heavy clay soil, and it stays there forever. It never breaks down. It's like adding porcelain chips to your garden, and it aerates the soil, helps the water drain away. It will absorb any excess water in a heavy clay soil. So it's one of the best things you can do to amend the soil for roses. Okay, now, and when you're doing the organic matter, you want to, when you're mixing it back with the backfill, you want to do 1 part organic matter to 3 parts soil. And then when you're doing this initially, mix in 1/2 cup of triple superphosphate and also gypsum. And phosphate is the nutrient for flowers. Triple superphosphate has 45% phosphorus in it, but it's a very slow release. So you mix that in the soil before planting, and then mix gypsum in too. Gypsum is wonderful, especially in clay soil, and because it's actually an calcium sulfate. And calcium sulfate, calcium is one of the most reactive elements in the periodic table. The calcium breaks away from the sulfate, binds with and causes the clay soil to aggregate. And if you get it to aggregate, that helps form aeration pockets. So that's why gypsum is a great one to add when you're benefiting. Now, this is a diagram on how to plant. You get containers, water the rose the day before you're going to plant it. So you make sure it's nice and hydrated. And then you either pull the root system out of the pot. If it doesn't come out, you can cut the pot. The plastic pots cut very easily. And then if the plant is a grafted rose, you want to plant it so that the top of the root ball is 2 inches below the grade. And this is what the second illustration is. And then fill the soil. Now, many of the roses are on their own rootstock. And if that's the case, then you can just plant that plant right at grade, like you do all other plants that you're dealing with. Okay, now the last diagram is how to winter prepare with a rose collar around it. I'm not going to talk about that right now. I just want to emphasize, don't use cones unless you can have them ventilated at the top. That's kind of old school, and plants get actually worse disease under a cone all winter than they would if they just stayed out in the open. So the collars are great because it helps hold mulch around the top 6 inches of the stem in case we have severe winters where the stems would freeze back to the ground. I'm gonna get a sip of coffee. Now, when you're planting, roses should be spaced 2 feet to 30 inches apart from each other. And that's the hybrid teas, grandifloras, and floribundas. Okay, you want to dig the hole wide enough to easily accommodate the root ball, and you want it the depth and then twice as wide, and then do the depth as I explained earlier. Okay, if the root has its own roots, and you'll see OR on the labels, where that means own roots, then you can plant it exactly at grade like you do all other plants. Okay, I already talked about this. Let's just move on here. Now, this is the Espoma's Clay Soil Perfector. See the photo right in the center of the screen with the yellow package on it? That is wonderful. I've been using that product in my own garden. I've been in my house for 35 years, and I've been using that since it was introduced probably 20 years ago. And I have areas in my garden, and I had such heavy clay soil. I lived down in Skokie, Evanston. I had such heavy clay that, I mean, I was a potter in college. I almost was an art major, working on a potter's wheel and throwing clay pots. And the clay in my garden that I have dug out over the years was denser than the kaolin clay I used to work with, in the studio when I was in college. So you really want to modify it, really modify it. Leaf mulch are the other amendments. There's leaf mulch, shredded pine mulch, cotton burr compost. Cotton burr is incredible. Cotton burr is the cotton plant, and the burr is a woody structure that holds the cotton ball. They harvest the cotton ball, and then they cut the plant down. So you have the woody burr, the woody stem, and all the leaves. And they dry it, chop it all up, and compost it. And what's wonderful is it can lower the pH of our high pH soil. And it's like a hybrid cross of a leaf mulch and a shredded bark mulch. So it doesn't break down as quickly. If you use it as an amendment, it really aerates the soil, but you can also use it as a mulch and at 2 inches deep. Dehydrated manure is a great organic matter to add to the soil, especially for roses. Gypsum I talked about, and then soil sulfur is wonderful to really lower the soil pH. It's elemental sulfur, and it takes 6 months for it to work. So for a rose, I would work in a half a cup in through the bottom of the hole that I've dug, and then mix it with the backfill and put it in place. Now, these are the different types of leaf mulches. I wanted to have like a video to show you, or not a video, a photo to show you. So the leaf mulch is up here. Our leaf mulch, is the dark one right in the upper left hand. The cotton burr compost is the brown one that's over on the right side on the top. Shredded pine bark mulch is on the bottom left hand, and then the shredded hardwood mulch is on the bottom left. And anytime you're working with shrubs or woody plants like trees, it's better to use a bark-based or a wood-based product to mulch with, because they have the same pH. It's the same pH. When you're dealing with herbaceous plants, you want to use like a leaf mulch. Roses can go either way. They work great, either way. I know Tony Fulmer, our chief horticultural officer here at Chalet, he loves the leaf mulch. He loves the Chalet leaf mulch. So just because it looks it has a really good look when you put it down. Now, pruning, I want to talk about pruning. Now is the time that you do your major pruning on your roses. And so in spring, for all types of roses, hybrid tea, grandiflora, floribunda, and climbers, you want to remove any dead or damaged canes or stems and then prune it into shape. And in fall, people think you should prune them back in the fall. In the fall, all you do is prune the plants back to 3 feet to 24 inches to 3 feet, 2 to 3 feet from the ground, because you want to leave as much of the cane or the wood as possible. There's a lot of stored carbohydrate in there, and it can help support the feeder roots. So you don't cut them, short, but don't cut climbers back, because they generally bloom. The new bloom comes off of old wood. Now, shrub roses can be cleaned up and shaped in fall, or you can wait till spring. And when you're talking about flowering shrubs, they flower better on new wood. And so you want to do a maintenance pruning every 3 years. You want to take a third of the height of the plant, a third of the oldest, thickest stems or canes, and do that every 3 years. And that rejuvenates and that encourages new wood, and you have new wood for better flowering. But again, shrub roses can be treated like that. And here we go, that's fine. Now, this is what you'll be doing on your roses now. And we usually say, start looking at them April 15, and you can start pruning. If you haven't done it yet, I want you to do that this weekend. And you come in and you cut the roses back to 3 to 5 strong canes, each about 8 to 10 inches high. And you want to prune out anything that's thicker in diameter than your thumb, like a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. Cut that down to the ground, get rid of it, because you want to encourage new wood to grow from the roots. And so as spring arrives, the plant, goes into vigorous growths. You'll get shoots off the existing canes that are left, but you'll also get that new wood coming from the ground. And it regains its former height usually by mid June. This is an example at my house this was a knockout rose that it was pruned down. I only pruned it down to and that was actually 2 roses too close together, but I don't ever go less than 5. 5. The rosarians are tough. They cut them down to 3 canes, and you want them like an open vase. You don't want anything growing into the center. Okay, climbers. When you're looking at your climbers, if you're just getting them established, you train them on a trellis so that they go up. I like to always do a fan or palmate shape. So I have branches going and an arch up and then all the way to the top. When they reach the sides of the trellises, you cut the tips, and then that will cause the laterals to branch out, and it will give you more horizontal growth where the flowers form more flowers and do a much better job. When it gets to the top of the trellis, cut that one, and then you'll have laterals forming. Encourage those laterals to grow along those crossbars, and you can actually secure them with ties or their trellis holders that you can use. Some of the best climbers, this is the classic America. New Dawn is one of the best for hardiness. And then Blaze. This was an example of training it to go horizontally on a fence, and you can see how a lot of the horizontal branches cascaded down, and they're covered with flowers. Beautiful, beautiful example. Now, shrub roses, I just talked about that. You treat like a flowering shrub, like a viburnum or like a lilac. One of my favorite shrub forms are the Carefree series. This was Carefree Wonder, and it just had a beautiful, huge flower with a reverse petal on the back side. It has a kind of a frosty white look, and then they open up to those beautiful, beautiful. And these get 4 to 5 feet tall and 4 to 5 feet wide. They were real popular many, many years ago. So this is an example of how to prune a shrub rose. So you remove anything that is dead or diseased, and that's number 1. Number 2, remove any broken wood. Number 3, take a lot of the older branches out. You're going to remove as many as a third, and then cut the height. And so if the length of the branches are 6 feet long, cut them back 2 feet. Don't just come in and cut a straight line at 4 feet across the top. You don't want to do that. You want to come in and individually, prune each of those branches 2 feet, and then you're ready to start for the season. Okay, now watering is really, really important. And today's water is wonderful. I just looked out the side to make sure it was still raining. But if we don't get a good soaking rain, and you want to have a rain gauge to measure it, and I'm going to go forward a little bit. You want to have a rain gauge. My favorite is this Bosmere brand because it's conical shape. So even if you just get 2/10 of an inch, this is the one I'm holding over on the left-hand side. You can really measure. You can actually add up to see what's in your rain gauge every time it rains at your house, and you want to have at 75 degrees or cooler, 1 inch of rain each week. And then for every 10 degrees above 75, it's like when we're 80, we need to have an additional 1/2 inch. If you don't get that in your rain gauge over the week before, then you want to get your sprinkler out. And I'm going to go back. And this is how people say, well, how do I know if I'm giving them an inch of rain? So you can tell that turf guys did this. They set up these are just containers in the pattern where the sprinkler is flowing, and then they time how long it takes to get a 1/2 inch in each of those containers. And obviously there's going to be more in the middle containers and at the ones closest to the sprinkler than at the far end. So you kind of average it out, and then that's how long you have to run your sprinkler, each time. And I do mine, if I need to get an inch, I run my sprinkler twice that week to make up for the lack of the rainfall. Okay, and then there's the rain gauge. Oh, and you can also use a rain gauge instead of the containers to see how much your sprinkler is giving. Now we're in for fertilizing, and boy, it's really important to fertilize your roses. And so after pruning or planting the roses initially, it's really important. Now, a lot of times, and we're getting into where things are waking up, so you don't have to hold off on doing fertilizer. 2 weeks ago, I would have encouraged you to just use Epsom salts, and Epsom salts are magnesium sulfate, and it doesn't push the roses too quickly. But right now, you can go ahead and and use that. So you can use the Espoma Rose Tone, and we've carried that for many years, or you can use the Dr. Earth Rose and Flower. It is my favorite, and that's what this one is right here. This is one right here, and it's also the one that's in the upper left-hand photo, and I love this one because all of the Dr. Earth products are made from the fish waste industry. So it's made from, I'm going to read it to you. It's made, the ingredients are fish bone meal, alfalfa meal, fish meal, potassium sulfate, that's where the potassium comes from, kelp meal, and rock phosphate, and kelp flour. So it's incredible amounts of calcium, so it makes the buds set and makes the flowers last longer. But the reason I prefer the Dr. Earth is it lasts 60 days with each application, whereas the Espoma lasts 30 days only. So I've switched my garden all over to the Dr. Earth, and I just love how it works. Now, the alternative, you can do time release fertilizers if you use them early in the season. A lot of people like the Osmocote, but only use the green label because it has equal balance. It's a 14, 14, 14. The one is the pink label that you think you should use on flowering things. It's a higher nitrogen than phosphorus, so you get really vegetated plants and not as many flowers. So we don't even sell the pink label anymore. So always go with that green label. Now, my favorite, my all-time favorite is this product down on the bottom photo. And it's the Bayer Advanced company, and it's Bio Advanced now. It used to be Bayer Advanced. And it's the all-in-one rose and flower care. And this has a 9-14-9 fertilizer, and it has the systemic insecticide and the systemic fungicide. And you use it 3 times in the growing season. Easy, easy. It has a handy measuring cup, and you measure 2 ounces, and you add that to 1 quart of water, and you pour that right where the trunk of the plant goes into the ground. And it's taken up in the plant and stays in for 6 weeks. So if you're going to do it this weekend, count this as May 1st, and then 6 weeks from May 1st is June 15, and 6 weeks from June 15 is August 1st. And you are done for the whole season. And if a Japanese beetle comes up, takes a bite of the leaf, it dies, and all you see are dead Japanese beetles on the ground. This is just my favorite of all time. Now, if you like to use the Dr. Earth fertilizer, and some people like the rosarians prefer to use this. If you want the ease of disease and insect control, this product is from the Bonide company, and it's called Rose RX. They're changing it to Rose Shield pretty soon, but you'll either get Rose RX, and it's called a systemic drench. It's just like the Bio Advanced all-in-one, but it's just the insecticide and the fungicide. Again, 2 ounces in a quart of water, and you pour it right where the trunk goes into the ground. And then if you haven't used the insecticides, and all of a sudden you realize that you're seeing damage on your plants, either from the rose slugs, which show up early, and then Japanese beetles later, then my other all-time favorite is from the Bio Advanced people again, formerly Bayer. And this is the 3-in-1 insect disease and mite control. And you can spray this on the leaves, and it's absorbed in. It's also systemic. It's absorbed in, and it stays in for 30 days. Now, when the new growth is coming on quickly, This isn't translocated from the parts that are sprayed to the new, to the new growing. So I suggest spraying every 2 weeks on new growth, and that will really keep everything protected. So let's keep moving on here. Okay, now this is like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Black spot of roses. This is what black spot looks like up close. And it's a fungus that overwinters in the soil where the roses grow. And then as the soil warms up and we get wet soils, the mycelium grows and the spore gets produced and gets splashed up on the lower leaves of the rose. And then once it gets into the lower leaves, it can get splashed from the lower leaves up to the upper leaves. Now, if you've used the systemic drench or the all-in-one like this one, that you don't have to worry about at all. And that's why it's okay to fertilize earlier like this, because it's protected. When that new growth comes on, it's completely protected. Okay, here we go. And then before we had the drenches, we always used the sprays. And Immunox is just famous, famous, famous. And it is renowned for how well it controls black spot on roses. It was first introduced, oh my gosh, it was before I came to Chalet, full time. And so it's been on the market for 30 years now. I remember it was first introduced and I saw it in a magazine, an ad in a magazine. It was in Horticulture magazine. And I went wild about it, because you can spray it on. It came from the turf industry and then finally came into straight horticulture. And so we have the concentrate and we also have the ready-to-use sprayer. We haven't had the ready-to-use sprayer because we can't get the spray bottles. So God, COVID and the complications from COVID all over the place. Now, so for disease control, the Immunox, when you spray the Immunox, it stays in the leaves for 14 days. So you spray once every 2 weeks for 3 to 5 times in the season, and it will take care of the problems. The other disease control, the Bayer's, or the BioAdvanced all-in-one, the systemic Immunox is myclobutanil, that's the active ingredient. The Bayer all-in-one, the fungicide in it is tebuconazole, and then Bonides Infuse is also a concentrate like Immunox. It has propiconazole. And so those are, and then the Earth Tone 3-in-1 is a sulfur and a pyrethrin based product, and you spray it on, and the sulfur actually prevents any fungus and any fungus, also spider mites, but it's not systemic. You have to respray when it rains. Okay, and then this I talked about, Immunox. It is the best. It is the best, preventative and curative. So if you have a plant that's already inoculated and it takes 6 to 8 weeks for the disease to manifest. So if you spray it after it's been inoculated and before the spots show up, the fungicide kills the fungus in the leaf. That's why I say it's the best, and it's preventative and curative. And that's usually not the case. It stays in for 14 days, that myclobutanil active ingredient. Okay, so here are all the bad insects. So you have spider mites up in the upper left hand, aphids on the top right, whitefly on the bottom right, and mealybugs on the on the left. And those are all the bad guys. This is what whitefly nymphs look like on the underneath side of the leaf, and also the eggs. And then there was an aphid in there for fun too. Okay, and then this is an aphid. Aphids are really interesting insects. They bear live babies, live young, and also eggs. They have those 2 cornicles, which they look like 2 tails on the backside of their body, but that's like the identifier that it's an aphid. So we can throw it in the microscope, or even use hand lenses sometime, and to verify that's an aphid. They don't move around too much. They can fly in. A lot of times they have wings. The adults have wings. They get caught in storms and storm fronts, and then they ride with the winds. And then when the rain comes down, they drop down with the rain, and then they land on a plant. And it's like when we get off a plane in an airport, we didn't get a chance to eat lunch, and it's dinner time and we're starving. We'll eat any place in the airport. And that's sort of like what happens when these insects ride a storm and come through. Okay, they'll just eat anything. So check your plants after a rainfall to make sure they don't have any insects. These are the chewing insects. So you have the good guy caterpillars, you have the Japanese beetles up at the top, and then some bad guy caterpillars too. So Japanese beetles alien insects. I remember when they finally moved to the Midwest. When I was a student and an internist at Longwood Gardens, oh man, I hated roses. I got stationed in the rose garden 2 of the weeks of my 10 weeks when I was a summer intern. And we had to wear hazmat suits. And whenever we were out there, we had to hand pick Japanese beetles off the plants. And whenever they would spray, we had to wear hazmat suits back then. And I mean, that was 30 years ago, you guys, maybe longer. Oh my God, I've been here 30 years. It was 40 years ago. Ah, but they moved here in 1991. I know the first time I saw them, I was down at the Missouri Botanic Garden taking photos for a lecture I was going to do up here at the Botanic Garden. And I saw the Japanese beetles and they were up here too in the next summer. These are what the grubs look like. And then they damage the turf. So you want to use Grub X on your lawn to keep, so you don't have any, and then protect your plants from the Japanese beetles that will fly in. And again, I talked about the insect control. There's a 12-month insecticide, and it's the tree and shrub from Bonide and or Bayer Bio Advanced. There's the 3-in-1, which is the rose and flower systemic, and then again, earth tone 3-in-1. And then this is what these all look like on the shelf. Now we're moving on to another enemy, and roses. The worst enemy for roses, I think, are rabbits. This is what they did to this was a 5-foot tall Carefree Delight rose. And it was one winter when we had 4 feet of snow, and the rabbits, and I know better, I should have been checking it. The rabbits were on top of the snow. They ate the branches down. As the snow melted, they just kept eating down. And look what they did to all the stems. They ate, come on, Jen. Oh, I have it down here. Here it is. See how they just ate every bit. And so, I mean, I only had a few shoots coming up. I ended up having to take them completely out. They just were awful. And I mean, look, there was nothing left. See all the stems? Rabbits are awful. So the repellents you want to use, Plant Skeed is great, and it's from Scandinavia. Liquid Fence for rabbits is the best. It has 5 times more capsaicin and also cinnamon, and it burns their mouth parts. So liquid only. We only have that in a liquid spray. Plant Skid has a liquid or granular, but you really need to spray them with a liquid to coat them. As the plant comes up to eat, or the animal comes up to eat, it has to be right there as they're going to taste it. The Bonide Repelzol has a liquid and a granular. It lasts for 60 days. So does the Plant Skid, 60 days. Liquid Fence for rabbits, you have to spray once a week for the first 2 weeks, and then once every 2 weeks, and then after that, once a month after you do that. Molmax granular also works really well. You just put that on the ground, and oh my God, I just forgot. It's what we used to do. Our grandma used to get it. I drew a blank, but you can smell it. It's castor oil. It has castor oil in it, so they really smell it. And once they've encountered it, they never come back to it. Okay, and then my best rabbit protection at my house, this is my garden, is the little red fox that used to always live during the wintertime on my compost pile in my backyard. And then she moved away from there, and that just keeps coming back, and all her relatives and offspring keep coming back. And man, she gets the rabbits and the chipmunks. I love this little animal. Okay, so now the roses that we're talking about, man, I've gone way overboard, you guys. So the roses, Knockout are, my favorite. And again, and then these are the roses we have now. These are all the floral carpet type roses, and they're all in bloom. This just was taken yesterday out in our rose bed. And we have mostly the floral carpets. Those get to be 1.5 to 2 feet tall, and they'll spread 3 feet wide in the garden. And so they're wonderful for ground cover roses. They bloom all summer long. We have tree roses in right now. These are the floral carpet roses that are grafted on top of a standard or a tree form. And we just have the whites in right now. And that's a close-up of the white floral carpet. Beautiful, beautiful. And then this is Will Radler. This is his climber. It's called Ramblin' Rose, Ramblin' Red. So, it's going to be as wonderful as the regular knockouts as far as disease resistance. It's very resistant to black spot, not rust as well. So you do have to protect against rust. but you know, it just blooms all summer long, even in heat and humidity. So this is a worthy climber. This is Cecil Bruner, another climber. It's a pink rose, and it's one of the Canadian series. You know, beautiful roses. Hansa, this is one of the rugosa roses, and see how quilted the leaves are. Very disease resistant. In fact, they're insulted if you ever spray a fungicide on them. And then this is Grace and Grit red shrub rose. It's a newer one from Monrovia, and look how gorgeous they are in flower right now. So it's a shrub rose that will get to be 5 feet tall and 5 feet wide, covered with roses all summer long. Now, these are the roses we have on order. So this is the list. I'm sorry, I don't know why. It was a 2-page list, and one came out one way and one came out the other, and I messed around with it for about 30 minutes. I thought I'd give up. So these are the roses that we have coming in. So send me an email if you want me to, jenniferb@shelleynursery.com. I'll send you the list. Okay, and then now I'm going to quickly go through, and we're at 10 minutes till the end of the hour. So we're back on, you know, for your spring lawn care, get your, you know, preventative down before, like step 1 for seeding, or any of the step 1s before the lilacs are in bloom. And these two have mesotrione in it. It will kill creeping bent grass and prevent any other weed seeds from germinating, but will still allow grass seed to start. I'm going to keep going. This is what the mesotrione does to creeping bent grass. This is in my own lawn. This was from last year. You can see the creeping bent. It burns the chlorophyll out. Now, it's not labeled as to kill weeds, but look what it did to the dandelions and the chickweed. It burnt the chlorophyll out of it. It's so cool. And then this is again 2 weeks later, that dandelion almost disappeared, and the creeping Charlie really got beat up. I love seeing that. There's the lawn care calendar. That's how thick to spread grass seed. If you're going to spread grass seed, get it down now. Too little, too heavy, and just right. Just right is the same as the poppy seeds on Irving's hot dog buns. Dollar spot is going to be, it's one of the early season diseases. The later season diseases like brown spot and round patch and summer patch, they show up later, but they're going to inoculate the grasses the 1st or 2nd week in May. So you want to spray your lawns. If you had brown patches last year and every year in late summer, spray with the lawn formulation of either the Infuse or Immunox or the fungus control for lawns. And those actually they are calibrated at 7 ounces per gallon. So you don't want to use this on your roses. This is for lawns, but spray every 2 weeks for 3 times, and it should prevent them from getting inoculated. Oh, and there's, oh my God, I did that. This is the plant skid for the rabbits, the liquid fence. These are the boxwood leaf miner. This is what the adults are going to look like in the next 2 weeks. So make sure you treated your boxwood with a systemic. This is what the blisters look like from the larva eating below the surface. You also might see this on boxwood. We're seeing more and more of this. It's spider mites. So that's what spider mite damage is. And another close-up. These are boxwood psyllid. Using any of those systemic insecticides will take care of all those insect problems. And you can either use the 12-month one or the one that lasts every 6 weeks. Okay, and there's the 12-month Bonide or BioAdvanced. Viburnum leaf beetle, get those viburnums treated now. These larvae are going to start hatching in the next 2 weeks, and they actually can strip a plant in 3 to 5 days, and then they drop to the ground, they pupate, and the adults come back up in July and August and do the same thing, and then lay eggs on the plant. These are the diseases you want to protect your plants from: apple scab on crabapple apples and cotoneasters, black spot on roses, rust on roses, botrytis bud blight on roses and peonies, Voluticilla stem blight on pachysandra and boxwood, and then also powdery mildew on lilac, monarda, roses, and more. And then the patch diseases on the lawns, turf in the lawns. And so then these, what I talked about, Immunox and Infuse. You can use the hose-in sprayer, which is really great because it calibrates for you. You just pour the whole bottle in that nice jar. Set the dial to 1 ounce per gallon. You can spray 20 to 25 feet, or you can spray a fan that goes out 5 feet. Really a cool tool, and it does all the measuring for you. You don't have to even think. It's really nice. This again, the drenches, I raved about those. These are the Earth Really Natural fungicides, like for using on edibles, you know, and then so it's copper sulfate or copper octanoate. That's in the concentrate over here. We also have a ready to spray bottle. I thought I had a picture of that. No, but this is apple scab. This is anthracnose on everything. And we've been so dry. I don't think we're going to see much anthracnose this spring. And then this is black spot on roses. Ficaria nevis, you have 1 more week before it goes dormant. So get out there and spray it. You want to use, and it's got all those horrible tubers, and then the bulbils, and then once the foliage dies down, the bulbils stay there, and it makes more and more and more. So you really want to kill it as soon as you can. And then if it's in a planting bed, you want to use a non-selective. This is what you use in the lawn. You want to use chickweed, clover, and oxalis. We've warmed up enough. Our soil is warming up. You don't have to use the Weed Beater Ultra. That's for temperatures at 40. Our soil temperatures are at 50, 54 right now. And then this is the non-selective Roundup or glyphosate. This is also non-selective. It's an iron, chelated iron called iron hedida. It doesn't kill the roots though, so you have to respray anytime they come back. I'm going to try this on my lawn. This is the new Bio Advanced 5-in-1 weed and feed. It feeds for 3 months, prevents new crabgrass, kills any existing crabgrass, and prevents any new weeds from germinating. So brand new this year. So look out for that. Grass be gone. This is a good time to spray the beds for any grass that's moved into the roses or the ground cover beds. This works wonderful. I love the active name on this, fluazepop. I've loved it ever since I first learned about it, even when I was in college. Okay, Espoma lawn food, that's what you'll use on Memorial Day, going into the first 2 weeks of June. And then fertilizing your plants. You know, you want to use Root and Grow if you've just recently planted them, because it has that 10% phosphorus, which is the root nutrient, plus a rooting hormone that tells the plant, I want you to use all that phosphorus and make roots, and the plant actually does it. Indoor plants, use the Grow from Dynagrow. And then these are my favorites for outside, the Dr. Earth and, to fertilize. Now, I'm coming right down in the last 3 minutes of the time clock here. This is what I'm doing in my garden this week. After spraying to kill all my weeds, I actually put seed down. So when I don't get rain, I'm using my sprinkler system. And but like today, I don't have to because I've got that great soaking. I'm getting my vegetable garden back in shape. My husband rebuilt my raised beds, so I put the Dr. Earth vegetable planting mix in it, and then I do a layer of cotton burr compost, and 1 inch and a 1 inch of the Dr. Earth vegetable planting mix. And then I plant through that when I set my plants out and I put my seeds in. And again, watering, once again, I'm starting more tomato seeds inside and more pepper seeds inside this week. They'll be ready to go out after Memorial Day. And then I didn't get my strawberry plants repotted like I said I was new last week. So I'm going to be doing that this week. And hey, I made it till the end. Let me open up the questions and answers. I'm going to turn off I'm going to stop the share. Stop the share. Now I'm back. Oh, fun. And then let's do the questions and answers. Here we go. Okay. All right. I talked about the handouts. If you didn't get a handout, send an email to me, jenniferb@shalleynursery.com. And then, okay, now this is Jamie. While planting this last weekend, I discovered a number of grubs, white. We have grub control for our lawn through a service, but is there anything I can or should be doing for my flower beds? Thanks so much. I appreciate all the hard work from the entire Chalet team. Thank you. That's very kind. Yes, you can actually spray with a liquid insecticide if if you want to do that, or you can get Grub X and sprinkle the Grub X in your lawns, in your garden beds as well, and it will last the whole season. It only kills 6 different insects, and it won't hurt anything else. And there's not even a warning label on it, which is really cool, because it's the chlorantraniliprole, which is the active ingredient. Actually, it works on the calcium ports of the muscles. So there's not even a warning label on it, which is just so cool. I'm going to move this over. Hold on just a second. All right, now, Jamie, thanks. That was a great question. I'm going to get this one off. The next one is, okay, I think this is Susan. Is there a product that is a fungicide and fertilizer for roses without the pesticide? Well, Susan, Immunox doesn't have an insecticide in it, so that's what you would use. Just the straight Immunox, not the ready-to-use spray bottle, but the concentrate, and just put it in a hose sprayer or a tank sprayer, and it doesn't have any insecticide in it. No insecticide. Okay, and then pesticides. A fungicide is technically a pesticide, Susan. So I don't want to get technical on you here, but I did. Okay, so then this is Mary Joyce. Was there a handout for this session? Yes, there was. Okay. Oh, okay. So Mary Joyce, you put your email on here, so I'll send you that as soon as I sign off. For the, I'm writing it down right here. So it's Mary Joyce 29 at Gmail. Okay, I'll send that as soon as we get done. Okay, and that was Mary Joyce. Okay, here we go. And now Rhonda Holcomb. When can zinnia seedlings be moved outside into pots or in the garden? Oh my God, your seedlings are 1.5 to 2 inches. I thought it said 2 feet. They actually are sensitive to frost. So watch the weather. If we get a danger of frost, you want it, but the soil is warm enough where you could put them out right now. What I should officially be telling you is that you want to wait till the average frost-free date, which is May 15, and that's the average date of the last frost of the season. So so if you plant them out earlier, just be ready to cover them with a cardboard box. Or if you planted a large area, you want to put stakes out and then just use a bed sheet to cover it. Don't use plastic, because the heat, the cold transfers or that. But if we do have a frost, a bed sheet will absorb the frost. Great question. And then I'm down to the last one, and we're at 11:03. So thank you everybody for hanging in there. And here's, okay, it looks like Jen. I had such bad luck with knockout roses. I had beetles every summer, even though I treated it. Finally pulled them out. I really miss roses. Would the rugosas be a better choice? Yeah, the rugosas are a better choice, although they're still not going to be resistant to Japanese beetles. So, I would use the systemic insecticide and either spray them or use the drench. And then when the Japanese beetles come in and they take one bite, they feed on the leaves first, and then they move up to the flowers to have sex. So, get it into the foliage. Once they fly in, they always get a good meal on the leaves, and they'll get killed. So, that's I hate that you dug out your knockouts. I'm so sorry to hear that, because there was a better solution to that. So, okay, now the next one, Carol Novak, any tips for relocating and resetting roses in the garden? Oh, just follow the same information that I went through in this presentation about planting. Do your soil prep, select your site so you have enough sunlight. Prepare the soil down to 18 inches, because the roots can grow, pretty deep. And, and this is the perfect time. You dig them up, dig as many of the roots of the existing plants as you can, get them moved quickly, prune them back. I would prune them back before you do any transplanting, because it's easier to work with them that way. So you've done all that work, and then move them, and then use root and grow. Use root and grow as the transplanting solution. And it's that 410 3 fertilizer with indole acid, or IBA rooting hormone in it. So that'll get them started really well. So great question. And then Marion, a great presentation on roses. Thank you, Marion. It was very timely and very informative. Thanks for the great presentation again. Marion, you're just such a doll. Thank you so much. And then this is Lorene. Hi. Should you be adding any soil amendments around established roses? If they're established, I wouldn't add any amendments. I would just mulch. You want to pull any of the soil if you had it, protected, winter protected with soil. Move that away, and then just mulch with 1 to 2 inches of your favorite mulch, and that's the best. That's the best. Hey, y'all are wonderful. Oh, here's a chat. Let me pull the chat up, and I'm going to make sure I answered all of these. Here we go. Done. Here we go. And thanks for hanging on till the ends of the questions and answers, everybody. Okay, this one's done. And then here's one more chat. Oh, no, I did the wrong thing. Chat. Oh, what did I do? Hold on. Here we go. I'll get this right. This Zoom thing, just when I think I have it mastered. This is Susan. Thank you. You are the best. I truly enjoy your presentations. Well, thank you so much, everybody. You all make it worthwhile. I look forward to doing this every week. So thank you so much. And be sure and come in and see. I'm trying to talk and turn this off. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. I'm going to get the questions and answers down. Thank you all. I really appreciate you signing in every week and listening, but be sure and come in and see us. The nursery and the garden center, they just look lovely. They look absolutely lovely. If you have any questions, you can always send it to hello@chaletnursery.com, and any question you have at all, and it goes to our customer call center, and it gets processed and sent to the right person to answer it. And stay tuned to all of our wonderful presentations. And in case you don't know, all of our virtual lectures, the garden coaches, any of the workshops, they're all posted on the Chalet YouTube page. So you can either go to our webpage or just go to YouTube and then type in the search Chalet Virtual Learning, and all of it comes up, and you can watch any of them that you want anytime. This garden coach is posted by 5 p.m. on Friday. So tomorrow it will be posted. So you can watch it again if you need to. And you can watch, any of like Tony's lectures, my lectures, any of Paige's workshops, and our events people. Carly is just doing a phenomenal job. So be sure, and her name is CARLEIGH, Carly, and pass on the compliments to what a great job Carly's doing too. So okay, everybody, there's still 15 people hanging on. Thanks for staying there with me. Love you all. Bye now. See you next week. Oh, 2 more questions. Hold on. I'll see. Thank you for another great session, and thanks. Thanks. Bye-bye, y'all.